What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 25 of Some Kind of Podcast. This is a podcast where we entertain you by discussing what entertains us. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm here joined always by Cody.
Oh, hello.
And Tim.
Howdy.
We are ready to talk your ears off about everything we love about the entertainment industry, but a special announcement for this week is that our friend Silent Steven is actually no longer silent. He will be officially joining this podcast starting next week.
Yep.
So for the first time since this podcast has begun, the full cast of Some Kind of Gamers will be fully assembled. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah. He got a voice box transplant, so he can speak now.
Yep. He can talk.
Is he officially joining us, or is he just doing a one-off?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I will leave it up to him if he wants to come in for an episode here and there. If he wants to be permanent, I'll leave that up to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're full in swing of summer entertainment. Actually kind of towards the tail end of it being August. It's more so leaning towards fall now. But we still got a couple upcoming titles. Free Guy is hitting theaters on August 13th. Marvel's What If series coming to Disney Plus is releasing on August 11th. So it's only like 2 days from now.
And at the time of recording.
Yeah, at the time of recording, 2 days from now. When you hear this.
If you hear it tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Tuesday when it releases, it's tomorrow.
True.
Yes.
Hades is getting a re-release onto consoles, coming to PlayStation 5, all the Xboxes, PlayStation 4.
What is?
Hades. It's like that.
Hades. The indie game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Got really big and popular this past year on PC and on Switch, I guess.
Yeah, I missed the hype on that one.
Yeah, I haven't really played it. I might pick it up at some point. I haven't really committed to it yet. It's
on PC.
It's only like $20. Yeah.
That's okay.
And then outside of that, the next couple things coming up are Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Getting kind of a re-release for Ghost of Tsushima on PlayStation 5 on August 20th. Kena Bridge of Spirits was supposed to come out on August 24th for the PlayStation 4 and 5, but I am relatively certain that's got pushed into September.
Did the store ever update? Because it looked like it was still set.
Yeah, we were checking it out the other day, and I'm pretty sure, as far as Sony's concerned, that it's still coming out on August 24th, but I could have sworn I saw a press release or something from the developer behind that game, and they were like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit longer. So I guess we'll see.
You know what I can't wait for is
what?
Cyberpunk, whenever that's going to come out. Oh, wait, it did. That's right. It's the PS5 version. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I mean, I feel like whatever this next unveiling of the game for next gen and re-release on PC or whatever will be what we all would have hoped the first mini failure launch was.
Apparently, the PC version isn't changing. That is the good game.
Huh.
They just really messed it up on consoles.
I have not played it. Have you played it all on the PC yourself?
No, I wasn't going to buy it again.
No.
Yeah, I'll wait till it comes out on console if it ever happens. Like the next gen console, I guess.
Right.
It's now moved to September 21st.
Okay. Kena? Yeah.
Spirits, yeah. It's September 21st.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
A little bit longer to wait.
Looks like a Pixar movie.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be like a shorter storyline, but that's okay. I mean, it's only I think $20 or $30 on the store.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so major topics of the show for today. We're going to be talking a little bit about the newest Suicide Squad and my first impressions of Critical Role and the feedback from Cody and Tim on what I can expect in the episode to come. But to start things off, guys, let's do a little bit of EXP grind. What you guys been up to?
Do it first, Cody.
Well, I got sucked into Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Saw you've been playing a lot of that.
Yeah, so Steven had actually recommended it to me forever ago because I pop into Minecraft every now and again, and we all played Portal Knights, which is another block builder. And so I don't know, I was hesitant to get it, but it was on sale, so I said why not, and went for it. And yeah, I love the game. So I played that pretty much nonstop for the last week and a half and beat it. And then really just bouncing between that and Final Fantasy 14.
You've been playing 14 again? I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys getting pumped for the new DLC coming out in like a couple months?
Yeah, I'm really excited for Endwalker. But I really like. I mean, I wanted to play anyway, but and this isn't like a topic of the show, but a lot of big WoW players recently started streaming and switching over to Final Fantasy 14. Some before the Blizzard news happened.
Yeah, I saw the CEO actually officially. I think it was the CEO or the president stepped down.
President stepped down. Yeah.
Yeah, which, if you guys don't know, there's a whole bunch of sexual allegations coming out of the Activision camp right now,
and a lot of it's in the
a whole bunch of employees like walked out the other day.
Yeah,
a lot of it has to do with WoW.
And a lot of the, I think all of the development halted on WoW.
I haven't seen anything about that exactly.
I heard something about it the other day. I don't know if it was temporary or what, but yeah, one of the bigger streamers, Asmongold, had been gonna try it anyway and started to try it, and he had like 200,000 people watching him that day, and apparently like 80% of them all joined Final Fantasy 14 with him.
And so I'm sure the servers are like freaking out right now.
So
they're
that day that he joined, and then like a couple days after, a couple of other streamers joined him as well, and the servers like couldn't handle it, and so Yoshi P actually put out a statement that was on the game home screen, and I think they put it on Facebook. They were like, "We're so sorry. We didn't expect this influx of players, and we like didn't prepare for the servers to take that much, new income of players." And they were like, "We're working on expanding the servers," because it got crazy. And me and Tim were actually just playing it, and I made a comment about it. Like, I went to one of the like starter areas for one of the late game quests, and it was just a sea of sprouts. And for anyone that hasn't played the game, sprouts are new players because they have little green sprouts next to their name, and it was just a sea of them.
It's really funny.
And it's what's weird about that for us is that we're on a legacy server, which is a server from when 14 before it was A Realm Reborn, and it's been full for as long as I can remember. So I guess they did expand all of them to some degree, because the fact that there's a bunch of new sprouts is insane.
I mean, there's a bunch of people that always move. You know.
I mean, that's true. I know people switch servers here and there, but like, I mean, this is a lot of new people, so that was a little surprised. But yeah, sorry.
That's cool though.
Not trying to...
good for 14 and Final Fantasy and Square Enix and all of them,
Yeah.
Seem more deserving of everybody's, dispensable income than WoW at the moment.
Well, I mean, like, I feel really bad for WoW players, to be honest. I mean, I don't have a problem with WoW. I don't like the aesthetic of it. I've never
there would be no 14 without WoW.
Yeah, there wouldn't be. Yoshi P is a huge WoW fan, and he said he strived to make a Final Fantasy version of WoW, and without it, we wouldn't have what we have today. So, like, I feel really bad for all the WoW players over the last few years, and their game's just gone downhill, and it seems to be at rock bottom right now.
From what I've heard from a lot of people that have played WoW and have switched over to 14, and even before this whole Blizzard thing, it was already on the decline.
Yeah, like as I was saying, like the last few years, it's just been sort of a decline, and the developers don't listen to the players, and I think the general consensus is that they just themselves don't play the game, so they don't understand why they're screwing it up.
Yeah.
Huh.
Doesn't shock me.
No.
I mean, this is Blizzard we're talking about. They're literally releasing Overwatch 2, which is Overwatch, slightly reskinned.
It was already out.
Is it? I don't think so. I haven't seen it on the consoles.
Sure got pushed back.
No, okay.
Yeah, but it's literally
Overwatch 2 in like 2017 or 2018.
Yeah, but it's the same game. Like, it's literally Overwatch with a reskin. But if you have Overwatch, you get all the content that comes to Overwatch too. So it's like, I don't really understand what Blizzard's goal is with games. Like I thought Bethesda was like the crappy company these days, but Blizzard, man, like setting a new standard.
Hold my beer.
What do you mean by crappy company? Just as far as like not like doing what the fans want them to do?
I mean, like, Blizzard has released like 30 games in the last decade, and about 28 of them have been Skyrim. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. Like,
speaking of, I'm excited to play Skyrim now on my mobile device. I'm just kidding. It's not on a mobile. It wouldn't surprise me, though.
I've been really enjoying the Alexa version.
Yeah.
No,
I downloaded it on a notepad, not like a tablet. Like, I mean, an actual notepad.
Yeah,
like
I've got it on my Palm Pilot. There's a joke for anyone born in the 90s or earlier.
I got it on my BlackBerry.
Yeah. No, I love Bethesda. Like, I love the Fallout games for the most part. Like, 4, I think, was okay. 3 was the best, in my opinion. And then I don't know what happened with 76.
That's like New Vegas a lot.
New Vegas was fun, but I still like 3 more. I don't know if it's fake or if it's like a player mod, but I saw something about Fallout London. And I don't know if that's their new game or if that's a player thing.
And I mean, like, at the end of the day, you know, as far as publishing houses are concerned, if a game sells, they don't really care if the game's good. And so, like, the fact that they continuously remake and redistribute Skyrim, that's a game that's been out for however freaking long now.
Since the dawn of the internet.
Didn't they announce like Elder Scrolls 6 like?
Yeah, so they announced Elder Scrolls 6 like 3 years ago, and then over the pandemic, Microsoft bought them, so now it's solely exclusive to the Xbox and PC. So Sony players won't ever get it, which I don't know why anyone was surprised about that. Like, when they got bought, the internet was like, no, I'm sure Bethesda will still release games for the PlayStation. Like, why would Microsoft let that happen?
No.
So, like, to me, Bethesda's kind of dead. Like, I'll probably play Elder Scrolls 6 on PC.
I mean, I could see it being kind of similar to the way, you know, back when the PlayStation 4 first launched, previously Call of Duty was, like, exclusively thought of as an Xbox franchise, despite it always being available on both. Because
it was always announced. It was always announced on Xbox first.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
always it was always announced
Xbox
with
E3.
their branding.
Yeah.
And it in some cases actually released DLC and content within the season pass first on Xbox before it even came to PlayStation.
That shifted
at PlayStation 4.
Oh yeah, I was like, I can't remember which game it was. It might have been a Black Ops. But there was a shift at some point where just a paradigm shift where they were like, yep, we're going to Sony and we're staying there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could see them doing a similar thing where, like, I mean, it's still around for both, but it might even be a situation where, like, you get a bunch of extra DLC or content that just doesn't even exist on Sony consoles.
I think they officially said that any games they make are exclusive to Xbox because, like, they had announced Elder Scrolls and that, what is it, Starlight or whatever that space game is that they're making. Are Xbox exclusives, not timed exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, good on Xbox. They need some exclusive anyway, and I don't care about Fallout or the next Elder Scrolls. So,
I really like the Elder Scrolls. I'm one of those people that bought Skyrim like 4 times.
I mean, I own Skyrim, but like I'm not going to be bent out of shape if I don't get to play whatever the next one is.
Oh no, I mean I'm going to play it on PC. So.
Anywho, Tim, what you been up to?
I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this before, but I mean, you probably have. I am at a point now where like I want to do everything. And because of that, I am essentially half-assing like 8 things. Like am playing Dragon Quest 11, but I just before we got on stream had some BS happen, and I was like, well, I don't know if this is gonna kill it or not for me. We'll see if I go back to it, kind of thing. And then I played a little bit of 14 because I didn't want to start anything else because I knew we were going to be recording soon, so I didn't want to like get into anything. And I did start. I didn't get very far, but I did start The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh,
hey, very
good. It's a great game.
I've not gotten very far. I think the last thing I did was I did that scene where you're running the river trails with that one girl that's not Ellie that I can't remember.
Oh man!
And then I went back to that other chick that's voiced by Laura Bailey. That
Abby,
yeah, Abby. And I was like, oh, cool. There's like stuff ahead of me, and I was like, all right, well, I have to go to work now. And then I put that down. So I mean, I'll probably go back to that too, because I think The Last of Us Part 2 is a little bit more open than The Last of Us, if I'm being told correctly.
Yeah.
There's a part of it that really opens up and kind of lets you do what you want, but you're not quite there. It's a little bit into the story once you get back to Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's so good. I feel like it got way too much hate, but like,
why did it get hate?
I
heard nothing good about it. So
there's moments that really angered a lot of fans. Just
because it's supposed to anger fans, or did it just anger fans?
No, I think it was supposed to, but like it made for good story.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're getting angry, that means you're invested, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think also a big attributing factor to that was that there was an intentional plot points leak right before the game
Joel
launched.
died, so you don't have to worry about that. I know Joel died.
Okay, yeah, that's
to everybody else.
Yeah, well, now you know if you haven't played it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, like it came out that he dies, and I can't remember what the other couple parts of the plot or whatever.
That was the big.
I don't know when or how, but I know that he does die.
Yeah, I think it's soon.
Okay, well,
it's real soon.
Yeah, it's like the plot point that starts the story.
It would be the catalyst for what starts the story, so it would make sense if he dies soon.
Yeah.
And I know he was like a beloved, of course, fan favorite from the original, and like I think there were those who thought that one, there shouldn't even be a part 2 at all, and that the fact that they did make a part 2 and that they also killed Joel off was kind of like, what the heck, to some. But I was willing to give it a shot, and I was like, I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to get into this, and then I did. It sucked me in. So
it's
I mean, I played the last. I quasi played The Last of Us Part 1. I more watched it than played it.
Sure.
But like with The Last of Us Part 1, it's more of a cinematic experience than it actually is a video game anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely along the lines of Uncharted.
Yeah. But so I watched it more than I played it, but I did play a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, once I found out that like Ellie was going to be the main protagonist of Last of Us Part 2, I was like, well, they're going to kill off Joel.
Yeah.
Because that, like, as a storyteller, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, if you're trying to tell a story and you change the main protagonist and the other protagonist is a father figure, what other way to spur on your new protagonist and to kill off the father figure?
Yeah. No, it's the story that intertwines between Abby and Ellie and everything is so good. And Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey did such a good job voicing.
I will say that there is a point in the game, and it's crazy because they Naughty Dog did a great job with storytelling, because you're supposed to feel this, but the narrative shifts from playing as Ellie to playing as Abby, and everyone was just like, I don't want to play as her.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Why do I care? And then they make you care, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, I look forward to playing it.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
No,
I
I feel you. I mean, I'm literally in the same spot of where like I have like 8 games that I want to play.
Yeah. I mean, I still haven't played the remake. I know that the Retrograde or whatever it's called, Integrate
yeah,
is on sale right now, so I was thinking about maybe picking that up. But I don't know.
It's a great
But,
game.
I've also been watching Critical Role,
Yeah.
and I read. I started rereading Percy Jackson for some reason. I don't know. I just
Oh
wanted
yeah,
something.
I just reread all 3 Ernest Cline books:
Nice,
Ready Player One, 2, and Armada.
nice.
Great books.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing. What about you, Christian?
I forgot I hadn't gone yet. I was about to move on. Um,
Nope.
a bit of this and a bit of that. New like life event.
Really
Ash and I
nails
are
it down.
moving yeah, and moving on.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
We're staying in the Carolina region permanently now, back for good. But we are relocating from Charlotte up to Raleigh. Um, both got jobs up there, have an apartment lined up, so we're excited for that. Um, just been trying to iron out all the BS that comes with moving, with internet and electricity and
Yeah,
insurance and all that stuff. So adult stuff. When it comes to fun things, of course, so we've all watched Suicide Squad. At least I think we have. And
yeah.
then watched a bit of Critical Role, as per the last episode's homework assignment that I gave to myself. And then
Sure, we'll
I
talk about
also,
here in a second. So
yep, which we'll talk about here in a bit. I finally played through and finished and platinumed A Plague Tale: Innocence, which was the free game of the month for PlayStation Plus members in July.
awesome.
So I really like narrative games, as we were just talking with about The Last of Us.
Yeah,
And I liked that this game was broken down into chapters. There's 16 of them, and so it made it really easy. And part of the reason why I took so long with it is I would play like a chapter, maybe two, and then I'd like, okay, that's enough for today, and I'd come back to it a couple days later, and it made it really, really easy to pick up and put down. I got to I think chapter 10, somewhere between 10 and 12 out of the 16, and I was like, this is really cool. This is like a cool twist on like an unlikely occurrence during the plague that wiped out mass populations in the European region
yeah.
back in the day, and giving it more of a sci-fi twist. And so I really liked it. And I was like, I'm really curious as where this is going to go. And then around chapter 12, 13, and right in there, it started to go it went from a little sci-fi to like extreme sci-fi. And I was just like, I don't know that I actually like this. And then there's like the final in chapter 16, you have, of course, like the final boss fight.
Was it?
Spoilers if you haven't played the game, but you essentially have a 1v1 rat versus rat battle with the Pope.
As you do.
I was not expecting those words to come
Nope.
out of your mouth.
So the whole premise of the game is that there's you're in this family that's like somewhat royalty, I guess, not like high ranking. Back in the day, I guess there was a bunch of miniature royal families kind of scattered about rural areas all across Europe. Nothing like big name family ruling a continent or whatever, just your own little area of France. And these people, the Inquisition comes in and kills your parents, or at least you think they did. And you run away with your brother who's got something wrong with him.
He's
they
a
don't
little
really
messed up.
Well, so the game starts out and you're playing as the daughter of this family, and you do for most of the game, and it shifts to the brother occasionally. Um, and you're playing with them, and then like in the really like legit in the first chapter, it even comes up in the dialogue that like something's wrong with my brother. I don't really know what's going on. Mom spends a lot of time with them, and we don't really see much of him or the mom.
My dude's
You're like
messed up.
you're like having this conversation with your dad, who like I guess is also kind of MIA out on like um hunting trips and battling or whatever he's off doing. And so this kind of like quickly devolves. The Inquisition comes in, starts like murdering all the people that work on the property and kill the parents. And then the mom's just the mom, which I guess you don't really like interact with much before this. It's just like, here, take your brother and run away. And so as time goes on, you start realizing that your mom was like an alchemist, and they're like essentially just like the foundation of like science. Um, and that
Full metal.
she was trying to work on a cure for your brother, which like has something in his blood that occurs every so often years. I can't remember the time frame that he can use to, and this doesn't get exposed or unveiled till like chapter 12, 13, somewhere in there. but he can essentially control. I think it's just rats, or it might be animals too. They didn't really specify on that. But of course, during this time frame, the plague is going on, and so the mom was trying to suppress it or even get rid of it. The Inquisition found out about the power and is trying to exploit it to essentially have a army of rats to take over the continent with. And this is, of course, led by the head of the church, the Pope. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Adds up.
I mean, hey, that's it's not any more bizarre than Valhalla.
No, it's not. And like I said, I was fine with it. But then, like, I'm not going to go through the entire plot because it would take too freaking long. But the end result is you can control the regular rats, and then the Pope has designed these hairless rats that he can control. And so you're fighting back and forth with these rats and like essentially throwing them at each other. You guys should look up if you haven't seen the game and you have no desire to actually play it, I would highly suggest that you look up like just like a video on YouTube of the final fight, because it's like weirdly like kind of amusing. It's also a really frustrating fight to play, by the way. But yeah, you're essentially just kind of like throwing rice.
Just throwing rice at them, man.
Rats back and forth, and then like the Pope will get stunned, and then like you throw a pebble at his head, which is like one of the whole, like really only weapon systems of the game is that you have this sling that you can upgrade. And so you throw a rock at its head, and then you do it again, and then on the third time it's like he's like, oh, he's defeated, oh no. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been doing.
Defeated the
Pope. I finished that the other night, and I was just like, this is not where I wanted this game to go. I don't know where I wanted it to go, but this isn't it. But yeah, I mean, it was free. I think if I had paid money for it, I would have been a little bit more upset. I mean, you can't really get too mad at a game that's free. So.
I knew you were going to say that. I take your you can't get mad at free games and raise you this month's free games of the month because they're all absolute like elephant diarrhea.
What are they?
It's like Plants vs. Zombies Warfare, a tennis game, and then I forget what the other one was because it was so stupid.
I think it was the new like MMO game.
I don't think it's an MMO.
The Black Desert?
No.
No.
I mean, if it's an MMO, it's not a known one.
I'm looking it up right now. Doing it live. This is what we're all about right here.
Give you a little tune.
I know you guys can't see it, but from my view, Christian typing, it basically looks like the scene from Bruce Almighty when he's writing emails.
Oh, yeah. I can't figure out how to get it on the app.
Okay, so Hunter's Arena Legends is like a multiplayer thing.
Yeah, that looks stupid.
And there's the Tennis World Tour.
Oh boy, you guys want to play tennis?
And Plants vs. Zombies. So I will say that it definitely is a weaker month when it comes to what you would expect from, something being provided by PlayStation for Plus subscribers.
It's horrible.
In their defense, like, they're kind of running out of stuff, especially for PlayStation 5 to give us. Like, A Plague Tale: Innocence didn't even come out on PlayStation 5 until July. And they've done that a couple times with games where they're like, hey, instead of actually releasing your game and maybe, like, getting, about what you want profit-wise and sales out of this, we're just going to give you a lump sum of money. And can you just, like, give it to people? Because we don't know what else to do.
They could have made Godfall free.
Well, that they honestly probably should do.
Yeah.
Borderlands 3 at this point.
Yeah.
Would have been a solid one. I mean, there's countless PS4 games.
True.
Well, I mean, PlayStation 4 is endless. I'm just talking about on the PlayStation 5 front, but you did mention a couple good ones, and I'm sure there's probably
honestly, Demon Souls could have been free. It was a launch day. It was a launch day.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
That's like one of the very few successful PlayStation 5 exclusives.
I know. I bought it recently. I want to play it. It's on my console right now.
You hate yourself that much?
I love those games. So I guess so.
Apparently.
What else? They could have
Returnal
made.
was really successful. I can't see them doing that anytime
I was gonna
soon.
say they could have made Returnal for free. They could have even done Black Ops for free. Modern Warfare. They could have just done that.
Activision needs all the money it can get right now.
It's true. Well, it's Activision Blizzard, not just Activision.
But still owned by them, so.
Anywho, switching gears from listing all the things that Sony could give us that they didn't for August for games.
You don't want to do
Cyberpunk. No,
you don't want to do the Bubba Gump of like
just list all the options.
Well, that's about it.
Could it be Cyberpunk? Could it be Call of Duty?
Yeah, that's about everything.
Anywho, let's switch gears and do a little bit of chit
Gran
chat.
Turismo. Sorry, you said switch gears.
Director James Gunn's 2021 Suicide Squad, not to be confused with
the Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad. It's the Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
That's the difference.
That is the difference.
Not to be confused with Suicide Squad that released back in 2016. This one, in my opinion, was far better than the original. And
so, like, spoilers alert, boom, right now.
But
stop listening.
Without question, better.
You guys didn't even give me a chance. I was gonna.
Because we have a tendency to start talking about stuff, especially Cody and I will segue off if you say something.
That's true.
And then we'll start talking about the movie, and then we'll be like 15 minutes in the conversation, and four of us is like, "Oh, hey, by the way, guys, if you haven't already noticed, we spoiled the whole movie for you."
Full spoiler warning: if you have not seen the Suicide Squad, you should probably stop listening right now. Go watch it and come back. It's about a 2-hour and some watch. It's really cool. If you have HBO, you can get it for not free, but it's part of what you're paying for right now.
Yep. Spoiler alert. There's a giant starfish, and like right at the end, Dom and the family show up, and they're like, "Nothing's more powerful than family," and then they just ram a charger into it.
That first part was true. Actually, there is a giant starfish.
There is, and it's not a euphemism for a butthole. Nope. Just in case you were curious.
Starfish, just a starfish.
So, guys,
it's blue.
Before we dive into this one, going back to the older one, the one that came back in 2016, I don't even remember what director did it. It doesn't even really matter at this point. But
I think it was, I don't know.
He did worse enough job that they had to redo it 4 years later, 5 years later, whatever.
It is technically a sequel.
Huh?
It might have been Zack Snyder.
Go ahead, I'm looking it up.
It was a sequel. The Suicide Squad is a sequel. It's not a reboot. Yeah.
I think, like, even if they say it's a sequel, quote unquote, that like
it's a sequel to
anyway.
Like in the order of events, it's Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, The Suicide Squad.
Oh, it's David Ayer. I don't know who that is.
So by that logic of like chronologically, it probably does take place after what may have happened in Suicide.
Well, this guy directed a lot of good movies. I don't know what he did with Suicide Squad. David Ayer, he did like, oh, sorry, he was a writer in a lot of movies. Never mind. Go ahead.
You're good. So my argument is that if a movie does well and it, everyone's like, hey, we should make a sequel. It's like Suicide Squad 2, like Suicide Squad Part 2, Suicide Squad, the Rebellion, or I don't know, some weird name that like is obviously
the boomerang dude that was in the Suicide Squad is in the Suicide Squad.
And
through a little bit.
He asked Harley how she got back to prison.
And like the main chick is also in both the Suicide Squads.
Right. Okay, before I continue on that, what did you guys think is what I was going to get at a second ago. What did you guys think before we heard there was a new one about that one that came out a few years back?
I enjoyed it for what it was.
You want to know about the first one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, Cody.
I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, I don't have, in general, any, like, high expectations for DC movies. So when it was coming out, I was just kind of like, oh, that's a movie. They got Jared Leto to play the Joker. That's weird. Okay. And that's sort of how I went. Like, I mean, it was fun. It was just to turn your brain off and watch it. But like, I've watched it maybe 2 more times since it came out.
Oh, I didn't even rewatch it at all. So
I
you did better than me.
remember sitting watching that movie with a lot of theater folk, and at one point in the middle of the movie, thinking out loud, "I don't know what I'm watching. I don't understand what's happening on
Yeah,
screen."
they don't really explain a ton in the first one. I mean, to be fair, they didn't really explain a whole lot in this one either. But it's
But unfortunately, from the first one, you know kind of what's happening in this one.
like I don't think the second one would have worked without the first one. To be honest
Yeah.
with you.
I don't know. I think I would argue against that because I mean I watched it with Ashley, and she never even saw the first one, and she still could pretty much follow along.
Well,
I
no, I
think it
don't
didn't.
mean like you can't follow along. I just mean like in terms of what the Suicide Squad is. Like, at least in the first one, they sort of explain why it's happening, whereas this one, it's just steamrolling from the get go. Like, yep, this is what you're doing. Remember, I'll blow your head up if you go off mission. Like, it just goes.
Okay. Well, I guess before we go into that too much further, Tim, what was your initial impressions or I guess thoughts on the first one? Kind of same thing with Cody, just kind of like it was okay.
Of the first one, yeah, I didn't like the first one at all. It was better than Batman versus Superman,
Okay.
but that's not saying a whole lot.
Yeah, I thought Will Smith was great as Deadshot or whatever.
Like for me, it's like, oh man, I don't even know how to rank these. Like the Suicide Squad, Aquaman, Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Right.
So right now,
Well, actually, you know what?
newest-
Birds of Prey is probably up there too. I really like Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey was really good.
So it'd be like the Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, Aquaman, Wonder Woman. Not Wonder Woman 84, Wonder Woman. I like Wonder Woman 84.
Also, not to harp on it or anything, but when you were mentioning like why didn't they call it Suicide Squad 2? Why did Fast and Furious call the first movie Fast and Furious, and then the fourth movie was The Fast and Furious?
I mean, similar. I mean, it's the
No,
exact
it
same
was-
conversation.
The Fast and Furious, and then Fast and Furious.
Yeah, whatever. I got them backwards, but I'm just saying. Like,
No, I'm. You're not like playing devil's advocate or anything here. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying it's the same conversation that like
yeah.
if a movie does well and you want to make a sequel, you should call it something that clearly shows it being a sequel.
Well, I don't think Suicide Squad did super well, so instead of calling it 2, they called it but it is a sequel.
Well, that's what I mean.
It's like a spiritual sequel. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a hard.
It might be, in all sense of the words, like it happened chronologically after the first one.
Yeah.
It has a couple of the same main characters, which
Yeah.
if we're diving right into this
Flag.
now,
So
they die 5 minutes into the movie,
not all of them.
except for
Flag.
Harley Quinn
Except for Harley and
Next one.
Flag.
and Flag. Well, he also dies just later.
Yeah, but he's in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like they kill him off like in the opening title scene like they did the other people, like
Oh.
Boomerang.
But anyway, I guess what I was going to get to is for me personally, the first these Suicide Squad that released a few years back, to me would fit the mold of like the DC movie that like I don't really care about.
Yeah.
Like it's not Marvel. It's kind of like that's about what I expected from DC, but not in a good way.
Yeah, it's a weird casting. Like I like Margot Robbie, so like that's fine. I like Will Smith. Okay, cool. I don't care about Jared Leto. No offense to Jared Leto or his fans. I just like I haven't seen anything of his that I really enjoyed except for like American Psycho, and he gets murdered horribly.
Yeah. And then on what you were saying before about like them not really diving into like what was happening and why. I mean, to be fair, like they didn't really spend too much time on that in the first one that came out a few years back. And then to that end, in the trailers for the original one, they kind of explained what was happening in the trailer. It had like the voiceover of the main lady that's like in charge of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
saying like, I'm assembling, a team that's supposed to go out and do what, we don't want our actual people to do, so that, if you guys die or if you guys, fail miserably, nobody will know it was actually us.
Yeah, it was
And
also at the end of, was it Batman v Superman? Or the Justice League. It was like the end credit scene too, of her talking about like looking for people.
Yeah.
So.
And so in this new, I guess shifting to the actual topic here, the new one, The Suicide Squad 2021, it had a moment like that at the very beginning, where as she was wandering around the prison assembling these people, she was like, I'm picking you for this team because you have blah 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 traits and skill sets that would attribute to this team that I'm building to go do some good that we don't want anybody who actually has, red, white, and blue taped to their shoulder.
It's just the way that, like, I didn't necessarily hate or anything, but like it kind of annoyed me the way that they explained it, where it was like, the drill, like, do the mission, you get 10 years off your sentence, and if you go off mission, I'm gonna blow this thing up in your head. Like, it was just very like, yeah, we had another movie.
Yeah, and I think James Gunn's approach to that was just that Suicide Squad, whether or not you had seen it or not, it had been mentioned and said enough in mass media to where you probably understood the premise of what was going on. He is attributing and giving the audience credit that, you probably know the gist of what's going on. They're doing this thing, and, here's this extra, additional reason of like, hey, they're agreeing to this because they're getting time off their sentence.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like moved forward, and then like within 10-15 minutes they're jumping into the first fight scene. So.
It was basically, and I don't mean this in a bad way, and I don't think it was a bad thing, especially for this kind of movie, but there was very little story. Like, the story didn't exactly have substance. Like, there was a story, but like the first one, they tried to make story happen. Like, they tried to tie in, like the doctor's expedition that went south, so she became Enchantress. And then, they tried to give everybody a backstory, like Will Smith's daughter and, I forget his name, Diablo. Like, he killed his family by accident. And, like, they really tried to make you care for them. Whereas this one, it was just like, yeah, they're all psychos and they're all murderers, so it's going to be a bloody movie. And it was very, very bloody, ridiculous movie. And there wasn't really any substance or backstory to anybody except for Idris Elba's character.
Yeah.
And even that was like teeny tiny.
Yeah, I definitely think it was, since it was the same director as Guardians of the Galaxy, after Ash and I watched it, we were like, yeah, we can definitely see the like Guardians of the Galaxy approach to this.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were just saying, I think the thing missing was the story and like backstory building of the characters and like why you should even care about them and who they are.
But to that note, I don't think that was a bad thing, because the first one had it and it wasn't that good. And this one didn't, and I'll probably watch it quite a few times.
Because although there's a lot of superhero movies out there that are origin stories and tells you like about how this person became who they are and like why you should care about them. I mean, there are plenty of action movies out there that's just like, okay, here's like kind of the BS, like a little bit of backstory, and now let's just jump right into it and have a bunch of crazy stuff going on.
Taken.
Yeah. Expendables. Like that whole franchise.
Yeah. No, yeah. And a lot of those movies work. Some of them didn't. The first Expendables was beautiful. I don't know about the sequels, but yeah, it didn't really have any story, but it was good. I like it was funny. It was definitely over the top gory.
Oh yeah. But I liked it though.
Yeah.
And so
did you catch almost like essentially 80% of the Guardians cast in there?
I caught a few of them. How many were in there?
So you had Yondo. You had I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. You had his like right-hand man in prison.
I saw him.
In the strip club, the main dancer was the alien girl.
Mantis.
Yeah, thank you. Um, Sylvester Stallone was the shark.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I know that.
I did not catch that. I saw his name pop up at the very beginning of the movie, and I was like, "Huh, I wonder who he's like playing."
Yeah.
But I guess it was more so who he was voicing.
Yeah, he was the shark.
I didn't catch that. Huh? That's
So,
funny.
yeah, they were peppered in there.
Yeah.
I thought that I was like, yeah, this is a James Gunn movie for sure.
Oh yeah. So I gotta ask, at the beginning, it kind of caught me off guard when they were like, "Here's all these characters," and I was like, "Okay, cool. They're reusing some of the same cast. I'm cool with that." Like the Captain Boomerang, whatever his name was.
Yeah, Captain Boomerang.
I actually enjoyed that character from the original, and I was kind of glad to see him come back. Of course, they weren't going to get rid of Harley Quinn. She was coming back for sure.
She's DC's moneymaker.
Yeah. So I was happy to see all these people come back, and then there was like the guy with like the spear, and I was just like, I don't even know who the heck all these people
Flula? That's his real name, is Flula. He's hilarious. Really? He's not been in a ton of things that you'd probably recognize, but I don't know if you remember Pitch Perfect. When that came out,
Pitch Perfect, yeah.
The German team. He was like the head of the German team.
Okay.
And all the meshes. He's one of the funniest comedic actors out there, but he's very German.
The one guy who like gave their position away, and I was like, "Hey guys, I told you we were coming." I know he's like a comedian, right?
Pete Davidson. Yeah. He's hilarious.
But anyway, so like that whole the way they set that up of like, hey, here's this team, we're going out, and then like I was like, okay, cool, like let's see what everybody can do, and then it was almost like
so fast.
It was like a Deadpool 2, like let's go X-Force, and then everybody dies.
Yeah, basically.
Like well, not 100%. We're not everybody, but
except for Harley
and Flag.
I
love that. I love that B team. I love that the B team or whatever, Idris Elba's team is the real team. But the fact that they murdered like half of the resistance for no reason.
Oh, well, you're talking about when they like went up on the when they try to get flagged.
Yeah, they're trying to get flagged, and they just start brutally murdering everybody.
I laughed so hard when they were like, "Yeah, we're the resistance fighters. We're the good guys." I was like,
to be fair, head honcho chick was like,
kill everyone.
Hey, kill everyone. This guy's been captured. Go get Flag. He's in trouble. And they were like, we got this. And then of course, John Cena. What's his like superhero's name, by the way?
Peacemaker.
Okay, I remember.
I love the back and forth between him and Idris Elba. When
I was about to say, trying to like one up each other, like how they're killing you.
Yeah, like he blew up the dude. He's like exploding bullets or something like that. And he was like, nobody likes to show off. And he's like, unless it's really cool. And then he's like, ah!
He does not say really cool, though.
You're right.
He says, unless it's people like show off when the stuff they're showing off is dope AF.
Yeah.
And then he actually says the AF part.
Yeah. And then Idris Elba's like, he's right.
I just loved it, like when he was chopping up that dude that was sleeping.
He's just walking
along. I thought the casting for this was much better than the original.
Oh yeah,
I actually thought that John Cena did a pretty good job too. I
did too.
I thought it was pretty good.
Like, okay, so we've talked about it before on the show when it happened, but with Fast 9, every time he showed up, I laughed in the theater. And so
but you were supposed to at this time.
So the same thing happened in this one, but like it was meant to happen. Like he was playing an exaggerated version of himself and this character, and I was like, this is the role you needed to be in, not
a
Dom's
serious
white brother. Like it.
This is you. This is how you get your start.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! I don't need you peeking out of a jail cell looking like a sad puppy. Like nobody hugged me. Like I don't need that. I need Peacemaker.
I need you standing in the middle of the jungle in your tidy whities for no reason for an extremely long amount of time.
The shark guy tries to like eat Rat Girl, and he just shows up like, I'm here. What are we doing?
What's going on, guys?
It was so good. It's so good.
And spoiler alert, I guess, like, well, at the end of the movie, like, it's implied that John Cena dies, but he doesn't.
At the end of the post-credit.
Yeah, the post-credit scene, Peacemaker's still alive. And I guess they're doing a show about him.
Yeah. That's
was trying
why
to tell me.
when they were fighting and they implied that he died, I was like, they already announced a show, and I was like, I guess it could be a prequel, but I'm assuming that it's going to take place after.
Yeah, because he's alive.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, no, I loved John Cena. This is the role John Cena I think was born to play.
100%.
If there is 5 seasons of a Peacemaker show, I will watch every moment of it.
I hope
will
it's
love it.
as ridiculous as the movie, as ridiculous as like The Boys, like just
Yeah.
I hope he's in the briefing room taking notes like he was at the beginning of it. I mean, he's just like, so starfish, that can be, an innuendo for a butthole. Is there any relation there?
Any relation there?
oh my gosh. Also, I have to point out that like polka dot guy, like I lost it almost every time his mom just became everybody around him. That's the weirdest thing.
That was weird, dude. That was
so
weird. The only time it was really funny for me was when it was the giant her was the starfish, and I was like, "That's actually pretty funny."
The one that got
when
me,
he was grinding up against her at the club, I was like, "This is not."
No,
cool.
that was weird. The one that got me, I mean, the starfish was hilarious, but the one that got me was like, somebody asked him like, "Do you see your mom often?" And he was like, "All the time." And then they were all his mom, including the shark, but they were like the relative sizes. And I was just like, "Oh god."
I think it was great. All these weird characters and superheroes that I know bits about Marvel comics. I knew even less about DC comics. And so to me, going into this, like I didn't know who any of these people were.
I didn't either.
So it was nice to see, or at least most of them. And it was nice to see them brought to life on. I think that I read an article or a review that was like, all these like D-list characters that like no one's ever heard of, and now everyone's like, these guys are cool.
The orange girl at the very beginning that attacks the helicopter out of nowhere. No idea who that was.
No, I don't have.
Give it up to Nathan Fillion for being.
Oh my gosh. Detachable kid or something like that.
Yeah, the detachable kid. Yeah.
Oh my god, when they just like
he
detached
was just
his
like,
arms,
like lazily slapping them.
Didn't the camera zoom in on Flag and Harley's face, and they were both just like, "What are we watching?"
I love that even the soldiers are like, "What is happening?" Like, because he's just like rubbing their faces.
They just start shooting his hands like his floating arms, and he's just screaming because he's like, they're shooting me.
Oh man,
it was good. It's good.
Yeah. No, So I guess back to the I enjoyed it as more so of like an action approach, but as far as a like really good storytelling,
there was no storytelling.
It was kind of
that movie began with like, okay, you guys are going on a suicide mission, and it ended with them fighting a giant starfish from space.
Yeah.
It made no sense. It was wild.
Peter Capaldi was a weird.
Oh yeah, Peter Capaldi was in it just for a reason.
Yeah,
he was there.
No Doctor Who jokes either. Like missed opportunity.
Well,
he could have just been like, "They call me the Doctor." Would have been great. What was the driver's name that they harped on for like 20 minutes?
When they're in the building and they're all like in the office.
And he dies, and then Milton.
Yeah.
And then she calls Idris Elba Milton.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh,
there
Milton."
Was that whole conversation about like there's a Milton.
Yeah.
When was there a Milton with us? And he's like, the polka dot man was like, he was here the whole time.
So he just followed them in.
Oh, that was great. He even tried to pick up a shotgun, and Flag was like, "Nope."
Yep.
Between that and the shark making like the little C4 peacemaker.
Yeah. Great.
So, out of all these new characters, like I said, none of us were really familiarized with pretty much anybody in this movie except for like the really Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
That's it.
What's your new favorite character that kind of came out of this movie?
Probably Idris Elba, just because his gear was so freaking cool.
It was pretty cool.
I mean, I definitely like the shark guy.
Peacemaker.
Yeah, Peacemaker, obviously.
The Rat Girl was pretty cool
Yeah,
though.
she was alright. It was a weird power, but she was alright.
Yeah.
It's like a crossover with a plague tail.
Yeah.
Weird flex, but okay.
Yeah, that's exactly my whole thought the whole time was like weird flex, but all right. And then like the rats just eating the starfish, and then Harley dove into the eyeball, and I almost puked, and like, ugh, that was horrible.
I know when she like jumped off there, like, because first of all, you can clearly see the platform that is set up like 5 minutes before she jumps into the thing. I was like, well, this is really all set up so Harley can jump at the starfish. And she jumped in, and I was like, so what was the purpose of that? Because you didn't really hurt it at all. You just kind of jumped in the middle of it and like,
she opened it for the rats.
She made an opening.
Yes.
Yeah, I think personally, Shark Guy, what's his name, like Malico or?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm glad that they let the other characters kind of shine though, because I was a little bit worried at first. I was like, look, Margot Robbie is like the big name in here, and Harley Quinn is like DC's moneymaker at the moment. Like, please, like, don't let her overshine everybody. And she really didn't. She had a couple scenes where I was like, they're really not focusing on the suicide. This is kind of like a Harley Quinn movie right now. But it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. So
now with Idris Elba in it, there was no way Harley was taken center stage.
I mean, she was in a lot of it.
She was, but I'm pretty sure he can pull in more than she can, just on his resume. But I don't know. I mean, he hasn't done a whole lot. Like, I think the last big movie he was a star in, other than Hobbs and Shaw, was like Prometheus.
I don't know,
because I know he does that show on BBC, Luther.
I just know that I know Idris Elba from The Wire.
Yeah, that too.
Anyway,
wasn't he also in Thor?
Oh yeah, he was Heimdall.
Yeah, he plays Heimdall.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And then of course John Cena is pretty big. Yeah, not actor wise, but
just household name wise.
Yeah.
People know who that guy is. He's like The
Rock. he's catching up.
Although we were watching, not to go on a tangent about the Jungle Cruise, which by the way I thought was really good. But I
forgot about the Jungle Cruise.
We were watching that, and my dad was like, "Who's that guy? Is he famous?" Talking about The Rock.
I was like, "That's Dwayne Johnson, sir."
I was like, "How do you not know that?"
He's the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Probably.
He is, or at least he was in 2019. I don't know about last year, but in 2019, he was the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Well, he made like 3 movies that were the same thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, if
like back to back, he did like, what was it, Rampage, Skyscraper, and then something else, and they were San Andreas. They were literally like the same movie.
Okay, well, I mean, but guess what? People went and saw those movies.
I watched all 3.
All right, guys. So we've talked about the highs and lows of the Suicide Squad. What do you guys think out of 10 you would give this movie? Given, what you like, what you dislike. Cody, let's start with you.
I'd give it an 8.
8?
Yeah. I don't think it was a perfect 10, mainly because it didn't have a story. But yeah, I'd give it an 8.
Give it a solid 7.
It's funny. Go ahead.
No, I was just pretty much what everything Cody said.
No, I was after I watched it, I was like, yeah, between a 7 and an 8. So I'll float between you both. I'll go with a 7.5.
There you go.
If it was like 30 minutes longer and they could have given just a little bit more backstory, like I would have loved to know more about this like Shark God character. Like, where'd he come from? How many people did he eat? Like, I'd like to know.
I
would like to know why people were in jail. Like, why was Peacemaker there? And
it would have been great to know just like a smidgen of like at least with the first.
At least why they were there.
Yeah, at least with the first one, like they gave a little snippet of like what they did, but then they spent way too much time going into even more detail. But if they had done just that little flashback of like Harley with the Joker and, the dude Diablo in the prison just blasting fire everywhere and stuff like that. Like if they had actually shown something like that, it would have been great. Also, I don't understand why they needed to show us that the weasel didn't die, but
I didn't care about that weasel at all. I was glad it died.
yeah.
I was like,
I
good.
didn't,
You're annoying.
I didn't understand that also, like why, because that wasn't even a post credit scene. That was just like
That
the
was
end of
just
the
the
movie.
end of the
Right?
It was a
movie.
mid. It was the mid credit scene.
Yeah.
Was it?
Mhm.
Okay.
It was after they did like all the animated outro title sequence.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like,
That's
okay,
fine.
why do I care? Like if they
Uh,
had done something where like Nathan Fillion's character had actually still been alive, that would have been great. But nobody cares about this weasel character.
I guess it just kind of adds to the what the movie is. It's just a bunch of these just like
I know,
rares
I know,
that,
I know. I
like,
say that, but just keep in mind that at the end credit scene for Captain Marvel was the cat throwing up the Tesseract. So sometimes these end credit scenes are just pointless.
That's true. That's very true.
The same.
Yeah. Also, to be fair, James Gunn and the crew didn't really have like a lot to go on with DC because I'm sure he doesn't know, or nor does anybody else, where like the future of DC is going. So like
True.
in a lot of Marvel movies, they like hint
Yeah.
at like, oh, it's going to be the Infinity Saga, or like this character is about to be introduced, or whatever. And I don't think anybody really knows what's happening.
I think with DC, they almost gave up, and like because Warner Brothers is sort of like Blizzard in the way that they don't listen to what people want. And everybody, ever since the Snyder Cut came out, has been screaming for the Snyderverse and to just let him take it and run and make the movies the way he wanted to make them. Because the Snyder Cut, in my opinion, was amazing. Like I'm so mad that the Justice League wasn't that. Like, and I thought the Justice League was okay when it came out. And now I'm like, dang, that was garbage compared to that. So I don't know why they won't let him keep going, but Warner Brothers, he said on multiple times that Warner Brothers doesn't care. They didn't even want to release a Snyder Cut. They essentially did it because Snyder helped pay for most of it. And they like everyone wants, Snyder's Flash to keep going, and apparently there is still a Flash movie, but I think they've essentially just adopted that. Yep, it's the DC verse. It's just a multiverse of DC, and we're just gonna make movies, and they're not really gonna mesh together.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to have an extended, interconnected universe, in my opinion, because I think it's overplayed.
Yeah. So we're just gonna have a bunch of movies that don't intertwine, like the Robert Pattinson Batman movie. That
Yeah, the trailer came out. It was on the Suicide Squad.
yeah.
And so I'm fine with that to an extent. Like if they want to do like Suicide Squad does its own thing, kind of like, up until the recent acquisition in the Marvel world where like X-Men was doing its own thing and like it was still cool and they were still relatively good. That's fine. I just think that there should be some sort of like plan for any, like, even if it's just like Suicide Squad the next part or whatever. And I don't think there is. I think they're just going as like coming up with crap as they go along.
They saw the Disney Plus success of their Marvel shows, and they're like, we should try it with Peacemaker.
So what is that coming out on HBO?
I think so.
Probably because they have the deal with Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I think it's coming on HBO now.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Real quick before I switch gears to the next part of the show, did Cody briefly mentioned it. Tim, did you watch boat movie?
Jungle
Or-
Cruise? No.
Jungle Cruise. You haven't watched it yet?
I
That was-
forgot that movie came out.
Yeah.
Honestly, too.
I did for a bit, and then while some family was in town, we watched it all together, and I was actually pleasantly surprised by it.
Okay.
I thought it was going
Yeah.
to be just like a really bad, cheesy Disney movie.
Yeah,
But it was
Feels
really,
like Disney's answer to Jumanji.
it felt like a Pirates of the Caribbean movie in a lot of ways. But
Yeah,
I mean,
I think-
cheesier, but
my consensus on it at the end was it was a blend of Indiana Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. That's fair. If you've ever been to Disney World and ridden the Jungle Cruise ride,
Yeah.
it is 100% the Jungle Cruise ride, like for the first like 30 minutes of the movie.
All
Dwayne
right.
Johnson basically is the cast member
Yeah.
leading you on your Jungle Cruise ride at Disney
I was
World.
like,
He
this
makes all
is
the same jokes and everything.
I was like, immediately this hits my nostalgia bone. Like, this is the sarcastic dad joke tour guide on the ride. Like, this is 100% like perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I highly suggest if you get the time, Tim, and
Yeah.
I highly suggest going and watching it.
It's really good.
To round off the show, though, let's do a little bit of, I guess we'll just call it critical role first impressions. At least for me, this is far from first impressions for both of you. If you
Well, first impressions for me on campaign 2, Cody's seen it all.
Yeah,
that's true. So, if you didn't see the last episode, my homework since we last met up and recorded was to start watching Critical Role. We kind of came to the consensus that I would jump in on season 2, since campaign 2, and since Tim had recently finished campaign 1, and that we would all kind of come back together and talk about it a bit more once it actually been exposed to what Critical Role is after so many months of hearing both Cody and Tim kind of talk about it. So at this point of time of recording, I have watched just about 2 episodes in, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like we mentioned before, it's 4 hours per episode?
About 3 to 4 hours long.
Oh, campaign 2 averages 4 to 5.
So, and we before recording this episode, Tim, you were saying you're how far into campaign 2?
I am halfway through episode 24, which again doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot. And I actually took a little bit of a minor break in between because I had some illness that popped up, so I had to rewatch a couple episodes because I was watching them and I couldn't remember what happened. Yeah. Nothing major. It was a stomach bug, but I wasn't paying attention, so I had to rewatch them.
You got the Rona?
No, none of that.
But yeah, so Christian.
So Christian, I'm excited to hear your opinion first before we talk about mine, because
So I will say it's a lot to jump in on and fully understand the dynamic of not only of just like the people doing the show and their own relationships with one another, but also just like the characters. And I know you guys have said before that they don't really know even themselves full on what their characters' personalities in the show will be like until quite a ways into the campaign, once they've had to fully think about and understand how they want to portray these characters they've created. And I understand that, and that's totally fine and all well and good, but it doesn't necessarily or really make it easier though. It definitely, essentially the first episode, 4 hours long, whatever it was, I was essentially I backed up a couple times because I was like, okay, you're this character, your power is what, and like what is your gimmick, like what's your thing, and then like how are you all...
right now? I don't know how I don't know what happens, but where I'm at right now, and I hope it continues because I don't know why it changed or what's different about it, but around episode 18 or 20, the view of how you watch it changes, and they actually have their character names over them, so you'll know who's who.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like Laura Bailey has a picture of Jester in front of her, and it says Jester underneath her.
Yeah, it was part of their, working out their own studio. Because they moved into a new studio towards the end of campaign 1, but they don't really announce it until later on, and it's probably like halfway through campaign 2. I honestly can't remember. But they do officially announce it at some point early-ish on. But they're in a new studio, and so they're still working out like their own streaming stuff. And yeah, like Tim said, somewhere around like 18, they start actually putting the names of the character in a little like headshot of the character, so that you know.
And when they're battling, their HP pops up, so you can actually see them take damage and
like
where they're actually at.
their character sheet will eventually. I don't know if that has popped up yet for you.
It has.
Okay,
It has.
yeah, their character sheet will pop up, so you can see what their stats are and everything.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and so like the show as a whole is really cool, and the thing going, my mindset before I watched any of it was I never really understood the appeal to people sitting down and watching others play a game. You know, I was thinking about this more so through the lens of like, okay, all these people that go on YouTube and watch, you know, Ninja and all these famous Fortnite streamers play Fortnite, which is a free game that they could just download and play themselves. Is kind of the way I was looking at this show, but I will acknowledge, can't talk tonight. After watching, you know, an episode and a half, that I do see the appeal, and I do think that is just as appealing as some of my favorite podcasts to listen to. It does kind of suck that it is such a time investment to fully understand what's going on. I kind of wish that they had done more so of like a pre-show of like, hey, this is kind of like the gist of what's going on. This is this character. This is this character. And then when like the episode 1, quote unquote, started, it was just like, okay, you kind of knew the basics of what was going on, and now they're starting to like play.
Well, I mean, if you want that, you should watch Campaign 1, because that is what they do in Campaign 1.
Yeah.
But that's not the same characters, though.
No, but
the same people.
Same people. So I think the way I tried to explain it at one point was you have to look at it like a really long book series as opposed to a web show or something like that, because of the amount of story that's put into it and character progression. So like you have to look at it that way, because I mean, like, even when you like first read like Harry Potter or something, like you don't really know who Harry is or what he's about or
right.
who any of these characters are, and it takes, you know, like half the book for you to start realizing who these people are. And that's essentially how Campaign 2 is.
But I guess my counter argument to that is that, like, you know, when you get into a book series like Harry Potter, for example, you know, when you start off with Sorcerer's Stone, you get introduced to Harry, you know, get to understand a little bit of like his home environment and setting before it, you know, throws all these other wizards and Hogwarts and all this other world of characters to care about.
I will say that, and I think this is one of the challenges for me, because I even expressed this to Cody once. I don't think you were there. It did take me a little bit more to get into the Mighty Nine, which is what eventually they're going to be called, where you're at, mainly because part of the story is that you don't know who any of these people are, so you don't really have any, like, I mean, when, let's put it in perspective for you, when Campaign 1 ended, I legitimately got teary-eyed, because like I knew everything about all these characters over the 115 episodes that they played the game on, but I don't know anything about these characters. So when they're like going to do their battles and whatnot, I'm like, I don't really care if anything happens to Molly, because I don't know anything about Molly.
Yeah.
Whereas like if something happened to, like, you know, Vex in Campaign 1, I'd be like, oh no, this isn't good. You know, like I knew a lot more about them, but that just takes time. I'm getting to the point now where, like, okay, you know, they're like, where I'm at now, they're kind of starting to figure out who their characters are.
Like, the idea behind D&D is they usually start out in like a pub or something, and your characters don't know each other, and it's supposed to simulate to a degree, right? Because it's obviously fantasy and fake and imagination, not real.
Yeah.
But like the idea is that when you meet someone new, you don't know their backstory. You don't know everything about them. So that's the idea, is like, you're as clueless as they are.
I fully understand that concept, and I know what you're getting at, but I'm just mean that, like, what I was getting at a few minutes ago is when you're into a book like Harry Potter, you know, it introduces the main protagonist, and you get a general understanding and you familiarize at least with the basics of who they are, even if it's not like where the story is going to go.
Sure.
Just who they are as a character. And so, like, at the beginning of Campaign 2, when they're introducing, you know, like they had like clusters of them. There was like 2 of them that were together, and then there were like 3 or 4 of them together, and there were another 2 that were like off to the side. They balanced. They were like, hey, here's these 2 people. Like, here's the like, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and show a little bit. And then like before I was even like fully okay, like you're this person and you're this person. They were like, now here's this other like 3 people. Like I wish they had just spaced that out a little bit more to give me a little bit more time to like fully understand who is who.
I guess
before they all come together.
I get that.
The biggest difference is that while the show is for us to enjoy, for sure, it's for them. It's their D&D campaign, right? So like,
I mean, now it's to make money, but
well, they have real jobs. They don't make like, I mean, they make money off their Twitch subscriptions and some of the merch they sell, but like that's not like their main job. But the show, it's their D&D group. Like that's just them playing D&D. So like it's for them, not us in that regard. So like if they did what you would have liked them to do, it would have ruined that moment of getting to know a character for them. So like down the road when like a character opens up to another character, that's their first time hearing that information. But if like at the beginning they were like, you know, like I'm Caleb and I'm German but from this place, and you know my parents did this and this happened and I did this or whatever, then when that moment comes and he like actually opens up about whatever, it's like, oh yeah, I already knew that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I follow what you're saying, and like, and you know, like you said before, that is part of D&D, but I think that's probably why they're not going to keep me around, because it's just I can't remain interested enough with them not taking the time to fully.
Well, that's the thing. They do fully, and then some. It just it's D&D, so it takes a while.
Yeah, like I know about Caleb now, and
my definition of like a while though.
A little bit about Molly.
Like, to put it into perspective for you, The Witcher on Netflix is like 10 episodes long. Each episode is about an hour. The first season of The Witcher was one of those annoying gimmicks that I have a personal pet peeve about.
Oh, it
where
drove me nuts.
You don't really understand what's going on until the very end of the first season.
Sure.
And I almost stopped watching it.
Yeah.
And that's the exact same emotion and feeling I'm getting towards Critical Role.
Well,
where like I understand and appreciate that like once I get to a point that, you know, I'll understand and that I'll be invested, and that's fine. And like we mentioned before, even like with Fairy Tail, one of our favorite animes, you have to get like 10 episodes in, each episode like 20 some minutes.
Those first 10
there's like
episodes.
There's a certain like cap to the amount of time investment I'm willing to put into something before I'm like, okay, now I'm in it, I understand what's going on, let's go.
To that, and in like perspective, I guess, if you look at how long Fairy Tail is and how long Campaign 2 is of Critical Role, 10 episodes of Fairy Tail is essentially 18 episodes of Critical Role in terms of scale.
Because each episode of Fairy Tail is like 20 some minutes.
Yeah, but there's like how many seasons? There's like 200 something episodes.
I'm saying that like by episode 10, 11 of Fairy Tail, I was hooked.
Yeah, those are 30-minute episodes. I'm saying if you take it and scale it to the length of Critical Role, by the time you hit episode 10, it would be around the time Tim's at.
Oh, okay. No, I know. I'm following you now.
So,
but like, I'm just saying, me personally, though, I don't want to devote 100 hours of my life to then get invested into something. Like, I want to, like, I'll put forward, like I said, like 10 hours into a show and be like, okay, I see where this is going, but maybe not. And then I'm like, whoa, like, this is awesome. And then I'm invested, and then I can actually enjoy that, you know, however long the show is going forward from there. Fully.
Then I hate to break it to you, Critical is not for you.
Yeah.
So. It's a shame because it's really good.
It's a really shame because you would love it and it is super compelling. But yeah, it's
because like I said, I'm on episode 26 and I know a little bit about Caleb and I know a little bit about Molly.
Yeah.
It's about it. I don't know what's going on with Ford. I don't really know much about Jester. And it's going to take me a minute to get there, but like from watching Campaign 1, the payoff is so worth it.
Yeah.
At least for me, it was. I mean, I don't know about Campaign 2. I have...
It's worth it.
I have some qualms about campaign 2, but it's just because they're playing different characters than campaign 1, and I'm not used to that yet. I think is what it boils down to, is that, there is a very much a family dynamic between Vox Machina, and there's not that with the Mighty Nine, at least not yet.
Yeah. Like, I think if you started with campaign 1, Christian, you might be able to get into it easier, mainly because before each episode for like 10 episodes, there is like a lengthy background before they actually start playing for each character.
Yeah, because they say like, this is my character and this is what they've done so far.
Yeah, and there's like a it's literally like their entire backstory up to the moment that they start playing, because it's literally the middle of their campaign.
Yeah, they start in the middle.
So if that would help you, then I would say, if you're going to give it another chance ever, to go with campaign 1, just so you can get that backstory.
Just know that campaign 1, it's hard to watch at first for the opposite reason. You might be more invested, but they have a lot of progression before they get to where they're at now.
Yeah.
So the first like 20 episodes, like, they have a lot of sound issues.
There's a lot of sound issues, camera issues. Like, they're brand new. I mean, they started on Geek and Sundry when Felicia Day started Geek and Sundry. Like, it was
2015.
Yeah, it's old. I mean, it's dated. It feels dated, but like
worth it.
They're still doing their maps on like paper with markers and stuff. Whereas in campaign 2, man, he's got full blown dioramas going, and like, it's a whole thing. So like, but if
me personally, campaign 1 is so worth it.
Yeah, campaign 1 is amazing. But like, if it'll help you get into something by hearing backstory on characters, then start with campaign 1.
Yeah, like the first like 20 episodes, they really, beginning of every episode, they play like, this is my character and this is what they did.
Yeah, it's like 30 minutes before each time they play. They go through backstory.
Maybe not 30. It's like 15.
But they go through each backstory of each character, so that you know what's happening.
But I mean, but
they'd already done that in game personally before they started this. All that backstory that they're showing before they play the campaign 1, they already done that in their game.
Yeah, they had been playing for like 5 years.
They haven't done any of that in campaign 2 yet.
Right, but like, that was like it was kind of like a one-time example that probably won't be repeated again, though, because I mean, that was, like you guys said, that since they started streaming and recording and posting this, they had already been playing for X amount of time.
Right,
but even if I go back and watch,
the idea being that if you watch that and got into it and got invested, then when it came to campaign 2, knowing that the payoff is so good would stick with it.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to having no interaction with Critical Role at all, or D&D for that matter, and then being thrust into this world with just like, I guess this is D&D, and I don't really understand what's going on. Like, it's a lot. Because like with campaign 1, they started playing Pathfinder, which I don't even fully understand, but it's a precursor to what they're doing now. Like, it's not D&D. It's a tabletop game, but it's not quite D&D. So like, in the beginning of campaign 1, they're learning the rules of D&D.
I've given you my first impressions of Critical Role campaign 2. I wanted to pass the floor to you two, specifically Tim, to converse with Cody on what your interpretation is, someone who has seen campaign 1, appreciated it, loved it, and what you want to talk about and compare and contrast between campaign 2 and 1.
Campaign 1 is glorious. I got teary-eyed at the end of it. So moving from that to kind of going back to basics with campaign 2 is a little jarring. It takes a lot to get used to because, like I said, these are different characters. They have no trust for each other. There's no love for each other. They even say it that, like, even the people that are paired together, they even say, like, I don't know this person. I met them 24 hours before I met you.
Right.
So, like, there's no any kind of love between any of them. And I guess that's when it builds, it'll build to that, because the whole thing is that, like, they're not, eventually they'll become the Mighty Nine, which is their group. So they're not going to completely stab each other in the back, or maybe they will. I don't know how the campaign ends, but I feel like they're the kind of people that aren't going to do that. So I don't know. There's a lot of weird differences because I'm used to like Travis, who plays Ford in campaign 2, played a complete idiot in campaign 1, and now he's like the strategy person in campaign 2. So it's just a little different because I'm used to like other people taking that role. In the same regard as that, like I didn't like really Vexalia all that much, but like Jester, who's also Laura Bailey, is now one of my favorite characters in the campaign. So I had a little bit of concern because like and this is why I'm a little bit concerned for you, Christian, and why I think you might not like it. But I hope you do try to give it a shot, and at least try to at least invest in it a little bit. I don't really know what they're doing right now, and I feel like not everything they're doing is non-consequential. And that's just how the beginning of a campaign works. I mean, the whole point is they're finding a job and they're trying to make money. That's really what it boils down to, and they're just it's easier for them to work together than to work separately, so they're working together. There's no
that's essentially how D&D is.
There's no general ties or anything yet to either one of them. I mean, I'm sure that there's something like I know enough about Caleb now to like kind of understand what he's doing and where his story might lead. But like for instance, like Ford, who's Travis Willingham, not only do I not know what he's going on with his character, he doesn't even know what's going on with his character really either. It's like Matt is going to tell him part of his story. So like
there's a couple of them with that going on. Like Ashley Johnson, who is Ellie from The Last of Us. Her character, because she's at the time that they record campaign 2, she's currently like a lead role in the show Blind Spot at the time. So she's missing for a whole huge chunk of the campaign, and her character essentially becomes an NPC at some point that Matt uses, but like she doesn't even fully know her full character. Molly is the same way. Like he's got like out of the gate, Molly was confusing.
Yeah, I don't really like Molly all that much, just because I don't know. He's okay. He's growing on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love Jester, but it pisses me off because Jester is the cleric and she refuses to heal.
Yeah.
I'm so used to Pike.
Yeah, she's a healer that doesn't heal. It's pretty great.
Yeah, she does damage. She's a damage dealing healer.
Yeah.
So there's terrible healers in 14. They're like, my job is to damage deal, not heal. That's what Laura Bailey is. But Jester's fantastic, so I don't mind.
But yeah, I won't harp on it too much more, Christian, but I do think you should either go back to campaign 1 and try campaign 1 just so you can get that backstory, if it'll help you get into the show as a whole and D&D as a whole. It might help. It might not.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not swearing it off altogether. I'm still willing to give, like, I'll go back to campaign 1 and see how that goes, or even just continue on with campaign 2. And also, one of my favorite podcasts that I really enjoy and like to watch, I'm also really behind on at the moment. So it's just another one of those things where, like, if I'm in the car, if I'm mindlessly doing something, I'll probably catch back up on it, or at least watch some more of it at some point.
I will say that for the first part of campaign 1, I was listening more than I was actually watching.
Yeah.
I was like on my, like if I was at work and I was working on something, I'd have it on the background, or if I was like taking my dog for a walk, I'd have it on. So if, like, for the first like 70 episodes of campaign 1, I actually listened to. I did not watch. It wasn't until like something happened and I was like, I kind of want to see what this is, what this looks like. But I was like, okay, I'm glad I'm gonna start and watch this now. And then from there, I've just been watching it. So I did listen to the first like 70-ish episodes of campaign 1 just because it was easier for me to ingest that way than having to sit down and like watch it at home.
Gotcha.
That, and they skip all the ads and stuff on the podcast thing. So like there was the mid break was just like, we're going to break, and then they immediately came back.
Yeah.
So it also shortened the run length because they skipped the announcements and the mid break, so it shaved off like 40 minutes per episode for me watching it on the pod or listening to it on the podcast.
Okay.
Like a 3.5 hour episode, it was like 2.5, 240, 250. But then, like I said, towards the later half of the campaign 1, I started watching, and I'm glad I did start watching again. That's how I prefer to watch it now, just to actually watch it. But for campaign 1, I listened to most of it.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, as we mentioned on last episode, this is kind of an example of what we will be doing in the future as a post-session, post-recording content that will, for the time being, remain free until further notice. This is kind of meant to dive more so into the niche interest that we have kind of on the side. We try to keep our topics of the show more relevant and what's trending, what the most popular movies and games are releasing. Watch or play them ourselves and give you our impressions and like what we think of them. But this will be more so kind of what the side things that are maybe not as popular. Not that Critical is not popular. It's not what I was saying.
Wasn't gonna say anything.
Didn't say anything.
But anyway, so like that might be a web series, podcast, video game, or just something super random. So be on the lookout for more of that in the future. But for now, I think this is going to wrap up this week's episode of Some Kind of Podcast. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to reach out to us, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at SKO Entertainers, or visit our website at www.skoentertainment.net for more information. And finally, don't forget to join us next week, because even on the best of days, we all need some kind of entertainment. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See ya.